Helsinki awoke to an eerie silence, a quiet so profound it seemed to press against the windows and echo down the empty boulevards. The city's usual hum was gone. Trams stood frozen on their tracks, cafes were shuttered with chairs stacked high inside, and hospitals opened their doors, only for the most critical emergencies. Their corridors eerily quiet. News channels declared the unthinkable. Finland was grinding to a halt, a nation known for its order and efficiency suddenly brought to a standstill. This wasn't a strike or a storm. It wasn't a natural disaster or a political protest. It was the result of a crisis decades in the making, one that had crept in slowly, almost invisibly. A demographic time bomb had finally exploded and Helsinki was ground zero, the first major city to feel the full force of a shrinking population. The government declared a state of limited emergency, a move unheard of in peacetime, signaling just how dire the situation had become. The nation was facing a workforce collapse, offices sat empty, desks gathered dust, and the hum of productivity faded into memory. Headlines screamed, "Helsinki paralyzed." Finland's empty future is here. The sense of shock was palpable, spreading from newsstands to living rooms. The few people on the streets moved in disbelief, their footsteps echoing in the emptiness. Esplanade Park, once bustling with life, was now deserted, its benches empty and silent. Cafes posted signs, closed due to staff shortage. Even the city's most beloved meeting spots had gone quiet, unable to find enough hands to serve a single cup of coffee. The systems that held society together, healthcare, transport, public services, were failing at once, each one unraveling as the people needed to run them simply vanished. The problem was devastatingly simple. There were not enough people to run them. Machines sat idle, ticket booths unmanned, and the city's pulse slowed to a crawl. Finland had run out of workers. Factories and construction sites, once symbols of progress, now stood silent, their gates locked. For years, experts warned of this scenario: an aging population, a plummeting birth rate, and a society unprepared for the consequences. Charts and graphs told the story, but few listened. The warnings were ignored, until now. Politicians brushed aside the reports, and the research gathered dust, dismissed as distant worries. The crisis wasn't just numbers, it was empty hospital beds, unstaffed elder care homes, and silent classrooms where children's laughter once rang out. The shockwaves from Helsinki radiated across the globe, a warning signal flashing for every developed nation watching from afar. International news crews arrived to document the unprecedented event, their cameras capturing the stunned faces of locals and the empty streets behind them. How could one of the world's most stable nations simply stop working? The question hung in the air, unanswered and urgent. Finland was the canary in the coal mine, a warning to every developed country that demographic decline is not a distant threat, but a present danger. The government scrambled for solutions, holding urgent meetings late into the night. But the problem was too deep for a quick fix or a simple policy change. Finland needed more than policy. It needed people. Now. The future of the nation depended on finding new hands, new faces, and new hope to fill its empty streets and silent workplaces. The crisis was most visible in the places that mattered most, where the absence of people was impossible to ignore. In hospitals, schools, and government offices, the silence was deafening, a stark reminder of how much society depends on its people. At Helsinki University Hospital, entire wings were dark, echoing with emptiness where once there was constant activity and care. Exhausted staff made impossible choices about who received care. Elective surgeries were canceled, and the weight of these decisions was written on every face. Even emergency services were rationed, with fewer ambulances on the roads and longer response times for those in need. Elderly patients waited hours, not for beds, but for someone to help them. The sense of abandonment grew with each passing hour. The healthcare system, once a pillar of pride, was crumbling under the strain, its foundation shaken by the shortage of hands and hearts. Government offices operated on reduced hours, unable to keep up with the needs of the public. Long lines snaked outside for basic services as people waited in the cold, hoping for help that was slow to come. Schools merged classes or shut down, forcing parents to stay home and businesses to suffer. Construction sites fell silent, tech projects stalled, and the future seemed to pause. Startups couldn't find talent. Supermarkets struggled to restock shelves, and restaurants slashed hours or closed entirely, leaving communities without gathering places. The Finnish economy, known for resilience, was being choked by a lack of people, Anxiety spread from boardrooms to living rooms as uncertainty grew. Would there be anyone to care for the elderly, or would the most vulnerable be left behind in a society stretched too thin? Could children get a proper education, or would their futures be shaped by empty classrooms and overworked teachers? The crisis was more than economic. It was existential, touching every home and every heart in Finland. It revealed the fragility of a society that took its workforce for granted, exposing vulnerabilities that had long been ignored. The Finnish dream of security and prosperity was suddenly in jeopardy, and the sense of loss was palpable. The nation was desperate for a solution. The question, "What now?" hung in the air, demanding answers that no one seemed ready to give. This crisis didn't appear overnight. It's the result of a long, slow transformation that has been quietly unfolding in Finland for generations. Over the decades, demographic trends have steadily reshaped the country's social and economic landscape, setting the stage for today's challenges. The main cause is clear. Finland's population has been aging at an unprecedented rate, faster than almost anywhere else in Europe. The massive baby boomer generation, once the backbone of the workforce, began retiring en masse, leaving behind a gap that seemed impossible to fill. At the same time, Finland's birth rate remained stubbornly low, with fewer and fewer children being born each year. For every 2 retirees, often only 1 young Finn entered the workforce, creating a growing imbalance. Economic pressures, shifting cultural norms, and the rising cost of living all contributed to families choosing to have fewer children, or sometimes none at all. The result was a population pyramid that shrank at the base and swelled at the top, a visual sign of a nation growing older. Finland became top-heavy, with too few young people to support a rapidly growing elderly population. With fewer taxpayers and soaring pension and healthcare costs, the famous Finnish welfare state began to look unsustainable. The system had been designed for a different era, a country that no longer existed in reality. The mass retirement of baby boomers was the immediate trigger, but the persistently low birth rate made the crisis far more severe and long-lasting. As the population aged, demand for labor in critical sectors like healthcare and education soared, but the supply of workers kept shrinking. Finland reached a tipping point. More people were leaving the workforce than entering it, a reversal with profound consequences. The nation found itself consuming its human capital faster than it could replenish it, facing a future where the balance between young and old was fundamentally broken. The crisis quickly spread beyond Helsinki. In Oulu, tech companies postponed projects, and the city's reputation as a tech hub faltered. Investors grew wary, local businesses struggled to fulfill contracts. In rural Finland, clinics closed, elderly residents lost access to care, and family businesses shut down. The burden of elder care fell on adult children, especially women, forcing many to leave their jobs. The social safety net was gone, replaced by overwhelming family obligation. Delays and frustrations replaced Finland's famed efficiency. The crisis exposed how deeply society's parts depended on each other. A shortage of nurses in one town meant a factory in another lost a worker to family care. This was not a series of isolated incidents. It was a systemic failure. The nation was caught in a downward spiral, with no clear path forward. The government tried everything: scholarships, bonuses, campaigns to mobilize Finns into critical jobs. Early retirees were asked to return, part-timers to go full-time, but the pool was already dry. Billions were invested in AI and robotics, but technology couldn't replace the human touch in care and education. Radical ideas like raising the retirement age or mandatory service met fierce opposition. The crisis couldn't be solved by squeezing more from the existing population. The government had exhausted domestic options. Desperation forced a shift. If the solution wasn't in Finland, it had to be found abroad. For a country cautious about immigration, this was a huge step. The search for workers went global. Delegations were sent worldwide to seek talent and build partnerships. The new strategy, not just temporary fixes, but a long-term source of new Finns. The survival of the welfare state depended on it. The question became, who could help Finland rebuild? Finland's search soon focused on the Philippines. The Philippines had what Finland lacked: a young, growing, highly educated population. Filipino professionals, especially in healthcare, were eager for opportunities abroad. English proficiency and compatible training made integration easier. Cultural values, work ethic, respect for elders, community, aligned with Finnish ideals. The Finnish government launched a landmark program to recruit thousands of Filipino professionals. This wasn't about temporary workers, it was a pathway to residency and citizenship. Finland was looking for new Finns, not just labor. The Philippines offered hope, skills, and cultural compatibility. The stage was set for an ambitious cross-cultural partnership. The first chartered flights from Manila to Helsinki marked a turning point. Thousands of Filipino nurses, engineers, and IT specialists arrived, not as outsiders, but as hope. Hospitals reopened dark wards, construction sites buzzed, and tech projects resumed. Filipino professionals brought skills, energy, and a fresh perspective. Community life revived. Filipino families settled in, children filled schools, and new traditions enriched Finnish culture. Community centers hosted Filipino events, and parks echoed with children's laughter. Integration wasn't without challenges, language barriers, harsh winters, but the narrative was one of success. The Filipino professionals weren't just filling jobs, they were rebuilding society. Their presence was a visible reminder that a solution was underway. The sense of despair began to lift, replaced by cautious optimism. The new faces of Finland were the faces of hope. International cooperation was working. Finland's future was being rebuilt, one new arrival at a time. For true success, Finland knew this had to be about more than jobs. The goal: long-term integration, not just temporary labor. Filipino workers received equal pay, benefits, and workplace protections. Intensive Finnish language courses and credential recognition programs were provided. Children were fully supported in schools for rapid integration. Families could join from the start, with streamlined visas and housing support. A clear path to residency and citizenship was offered. Finland wasn't just importing labor, it was inviting families to build a new life. This holistic approach created a genuine partnership. Finland invested in security and opportunity. Filipinos brought skills and commitment. The result: a social contract for national renewal. The Finland-Philippines partnership became a model for aging nations worldwide. Finland showed that demographic decline could be transformed into renewal through bold, humane policy. The key: seeing immigration as an investment, not a burden. Equal pay, social benefits, and education support ensured dignity and long-term integration. Careful selection and cultural compatibility made the partnership work. Immigrants were treated as future citizens, not just economic units. Finland's story is a blueprint for managing demographic shifts with compassion and strategy. One nation's surplus of human capital became another's solution. Finland's bold move created a more diverse, resilient society. The lesson: our shared future depends on building bridges, not walls.